And welcome to this episode of the Selling Through Partnering Skills podcast. Wrong already. And welcome to this special episode of the Selling Through Partnering Skills podcast, which is part of the Selling IT series, where I'm joined by Scott Wilson-Bennett, who is the IT director at Alloga. Scott, welcome.
Hi, Fred.
Scott, I really appreciate you giving up some of your time to talk to me about what it's like being sold to. And what we agreed was to go through a number of different subjects, including what's the role of the IT director. We'll do a separate episode where we'll talk about what really frustrates you with salespeople. We'll do another episode around what delights you about salespeople. And then we'll do another couple around some of your challenges, if that's okay, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no problem.
Hopefully I'm not going to take the mickey too much.
Fingers crossed, but I'll give as good as I get, Fred. You know that.
I know that. No, and really that's why I asked you to do this. So please do not hold back. There's stuff here that salespeople need to know. And so
if I keep fidgeting, if someone wants to sell me a chair, because this chair keeps dropping down. So any chair salespeople out there, welcome to give me a call.
We will put your details at the bottom and you will get flooded with chair sales. But so IT director, this episode, I really just want to concentrate on the role of IT director, because I think, you certainly told me that sometimes people approach, they just don't even appreciate what you do and what you're trying to do. So yeah. Could you give us a kind of an overview of what it is that you're all about?
Yeah, I think people's often misconception is that the IT director sits there in his ivory tower and just looks at strategy all day and doesn't do much else, but that's not necessarily the case. So a lot of it's involving mentoring the IT team and ensuring we deliver value or continued value to the business. It's really important to me that my team continue to deliver value and that we're looking at the next big thing coming, the challenges for our partners and our suppliers, and for the clients that we serve in the pharmaceutical industry. So that includes sort of strategic business planning, IT planning, looking at new technologies, opportunities, the usual budgeting, which is it's a bit financy, but you still have to do quite a lot of that. You have to make sure that we count the pennies. More importantly, I think for me, is analysing new sectors. In particular, over the past few years, legislation changes and opportunities that we get through those changes to build new solutions for the clients that we serve. One that is becoming more and more critical is ongoing security. So, people see it on the news every day. Cyber attacks are on the increase, companies being hit by crypto viruses, etc. It does keep IT people up at night. And I'll probably come on to that when we talk about one of the annoying things about salespeople, because they tend to pick on those opportunities where they might think people are worried about certain things. But more importantly, the stability and the efficiency of the IT systems and the support function in particular, to make sure that the business can continue to function as it needs to. Also, just ongoing delivery of services. So we do push out a lot of services to our clients and our customers through our development function. So making sure that part functions. So it is about keeping the lights on and keeping the business running, but it's also about looking for new things and delivering projects and making sure that we continue to do a good job for our clients.
Whoa.
There's quite a bit.
Is that all?
That's all, yeah.
Well, but I think, it's all said a bit flippantly, but that's an important thing for people to realise. You've got a lot on your plate. So, could you give some flavour of a day in the life of, what would you kind of get up to between 9 and 5 or whatever hours you operate around?
Normally 6. It's normally 6 and 6, I think, Fred. Normally, as we know.
All right. So what do you do between 6 and 6 then?
Yeah. So I suppose a normal day would be, going to the office or working from home, whichever nowadays is quite normal in the new world of COVID or post-COVID, hopefully. I think the first thing is making sure that everything's okay, making sure the support team are on top of everything, make sure we've had no major incidents overnight, checking up on really important things. And again, the support team take care of this and the development team do, but making sure any project go lives that are due that day have gone okay. And there are no major issues in the support team. And then there's generally my diary is probably 80% meetings every day, which is a challenge in itself. A lot of those meetings will range from internal meetings to talk about projects, external meetings with other parts of the business. So we're part of a wider group, AmerisourceBergen, which is spread across the US and EU. So quite often there are some big tactical projects and strategic projects that are being done throughout the EU and US that we're part of, that we need to work together with, in particular around security, and then the really big systems that we're deploying. And there's always projects on the go. So we system upgrades, looking after things, patching, just making sure that everything is delivered as is. And then there's obviously the other stuff, starting looking at strategy, doing PowerPoint slides, which is probably takes about 30 minutes of every day, I would have thought, preparing for meetings the following day or reviewing notes. Some of the more tricky days where you've perhaps not got one big meeting, but you've probably got several small back-to-back meetings with clients, is you'll come out of that meeting with lots of notes and lots of actions. But in today's world, you'll end up in another meeting straight away. So then you've got to refocus and pivot your head into a completely different subject, or different subject, different case. And then you'll have to start thinking about that and working out how you can tackle that. And you'll probably end up at the end of the day with lots of notes, and then trying to digest all of that, write it all down, get it into Word documents, and then start building up plans for the support team where they need to action something, development team where they need to action something. So the days tend to be quite full, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it.
Yeah. And also, it's interesting. The first thing you said when we were going through that list, and so a really long list on that, you talked about mentoring the team and delivering value for the business.
Yeah.
Was the order that you gave that list significant, by the way, or was that just kind of as they were coming into your head? And if it was unconscious, it's probably significant. So
no, I wouldn't say it was, but it probably subconsciously is. Clearly, you're only as strong as your team. If they're unhappy, then the service won't be good. So for me, it's always quite critical to make sure the team are really stable, the team are happy in what they're doing, and I think that is one of the, and obviously probably jumping about a little bit, but I think one of the challenges is, in today's world, people their expectations are a lot higher. There's lots of jobs out there. It's easier to get work. It is different managing different personalities nowadays. Whereas I think when I first started work, you either got on with your job or you found another job. But people, it is very, very different nowadays. So I think it's really important that, you embrace people, the culture, making sure that it's right for the team and for everyone in the team. I've got people in the team that are perhaps in their early 20s to people that are in their late 50s, male, female. It's probably a 50-50 mix in IT, which is quite unusual in my team. But I find that blend, of different personalities really works. It is difficult sometimes to make sure they all do work together, but I think once you've got them working together, it's very beneficial.
Interesting. And so then you talked about you're doing that to get the best from the whole to deliver value for the business. So again, broadly, high level, what does the value that you as an IT department, then if we talk about that, what can that deliver for the business?
So it's probably split into two for me. So there is the value from support. So that's the day-to-day running, keeping the lights on, making sure that the operations team and the end users are as efficient as possible. The challenge you get now is everything runs off IT. So if IT goes wrong, that has a massive impact on everyone that uses it. So let's say, I don't know, our order intake system went down for a few hours. That would have a massive impact on operational picking, efficiencies, drivers, vehicles, you name it, it will have an impact. So it's really important that all these systems run extremely efficiently, 24/7, 365. So the support side is really key for ensuring the ongoing operation. The development side is the opposite. So that is really doing developments to make them more efficient in their day-to-day working for the future, looking at new platforms, but also bringing on new business. So a lot of our development team will help us onboard new business. So most of my team came through the business, so they're sort of business people trained in IT, and I found that suited that team a lot better, because sitting in front of a client, and this is quite key when you come on to the sales part as well, sitting in front of a client, if you stuck a real IT person that talks about integration at a really technical level in front of a client that doesn't understand their business, how it works, how it needs to work with our business, how it interleaves, it wouldn't work. So for me, having someone who understands all the processes, understands what happens when a vehicle turns up at Goods Inn and the pallets get unloaded, they actually can visualize it, they've worked down there, they've experienced it. That's where they really add the value. You know, they can quickly have a workshop with a client, they'll understand what the operations team needs, the client team needs, and they'll do the technical bit in the middle that'll make it all work. So the key thing for our for our end users is that no matter what system our client's using, the expectation is IT will make the request of pick this order, send it here on this day, look exactly the same to our pickers and our transport planners and everyone else, irrespective of how the client's operating. So the client might operate in a completely different way to the last one, but the expectation is the end user, from our perspective, will see exactly the same thing. And we'll do the opposite with the client as well. So our system will be very different to the client system, but we'll take the data out of them, make it look the same, or make the process feel the same for the client. And that's the real skill for the development team. That's where they really do add the value.
I like that way that they're sitting with, well, what I would call a sales mentality. Actually, that is what a good salesperson does. So, what are
those meetings, Fred? They're not, and this is what a lot of our clients, or sometimes people misunderstand, is they perceive this process as a technical process because it's all about business integration and onboarding clients, but it's not. It's definitely an operationally led, technically supported process. So it's all about, and again, this will come on to, we'll talk about sales later, it's all about what is the problem you're trying to solve, what's the business process we're trying to support, and how can we support that? Not, I've got this really complicated, fancy integration tool and it can do all this crazy stuff. We don't really care about that in that meeting. That's more about what value is it going to deliver and how is it going to deliver it for that client.
What's the problem it's trying to solve?
Yeah, and what value is it
process?
Are we trying to automate?
Are we trying to automate? We're trying to understand, and how do we support that?
Absolutely.
Cool. And so, what are you targeted on? What are you measured on, and I suspect rewarded on?
Well, it's obviously it's always business turnover. That is key, making a profit, but also successful implementations, successful projects. We do open, or we have been opening over the past few years, quite a few sites. So obviously that's been quite a focus. But I would certainly say it's probably a 50-50 split between financial and obviously adding value through adding new business or adding new systems or upgrades. So if you take COVID, for instance, that has really driven the work from home mentality. I mean, I've never been, there's been talk of work from home for years. There's been, and it is slowly happening. It was a focus of the business, but I've never been home one week and then come into work the following week where that has completely pivoted. And we need to get people working from home. Where can we get the kit from? Let's just get everyone moved away. And then very, very quickly on the back of that is, right, how can we accelerate our digital adoption? How can we automate our HR tools? How can we automate the, make digital the training of employees? Obviously, we're running warehouses, so you can't do it for everybody, but where possible. Absence management, how can we get that more digital? So more and more we've really pushed over the past couple of years. When being involved in COVID, I think it's made people wake up really and realize the value in sort of digital adoption and accelerating that process.
Brilliant. And so you started to just touch on some of the challenges that you have day to day. But by the way, just before we go on to that and give a little teaser, how many people have asked you that question about what you get measured on, what you get rewarded on?
None.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
How many salespeople have you spoken to in the past?
Too many.
And no single person has asked you, what are you measured on? So what are you really, really bothered about?
Yeah, and I think, and I think equally and I'll say we'll come on to that later, but I think equally, quite a few people are too keen to explain what they're selling, not explain how it'll benefit me.
Yeah.
Or the business.
Now that sounds like one of your frustrations. It's just bubbling under there. I think we might record that podcast straight away when we finish this. But just before we go on to that, then, that is going to be one of your frustrations. I will also record what has delighted you. So maybe you have told me some things that people have done really well as well. But just broadly, then, what are the kind? I know you've sort of mentioned some already, but the kind of challenges that you're facing.
Yes, I think the industry has been shaken up. I think many industries have through COVID-19, but also Brexit has been a challenge. So we've probably seen quite an increase in stock holding. There's certainly been some challenges around space, but certainly for me, the view of IT is probably the biggest challenge nowadays. In the fact that perhaps up until I would say the last perhaps 2 years, maybe longer, IT was always there in a business, but the expectation of it was perhaps not as high as it is today. I think IT has become such a big part of everyone's day-to-day world. Everyone's got a smartphone, everyone's got probably several laptops and tablets and smart TV screens, and you name it. I mean, you look at most cars nowadays, they're driving computers. I think people's expectations are they pick up a device, whatever that might be. I'll say it could be a car, could be a tablet, could be a laptop or a phone. They expect it to work first time, every time. And I think that expectation has seeped through into their day-to-day business life as well. They'll walk in and people's expectation of the systems that people operate, how things work, I think they expect it to be as slick and as always on as everything else they've dealt with. So I think people's expectations of IT have grown so much that and I do feel sorry for the support teams in this respect, because it is a challenge. It becomes a massively thankless task. People's expectations are, why is it not working? It should just work. I think one of the challenges we see is, you help someone out on a problem and their view of it is, it should be working in the first place. So it is a challenge, and we have tackled that through various feedback loops into the support team, and that has really, really worked. People, when they've had time to reflect on the service they've received from support teams, have actually said, it was a really good experience. It was fantastic, and that boosts morale of a support team, and it makes you feel valued. But certainly, I think, like I say, expectations have significantly increased on what should work always. So that's one of the biggest ones, I think.
The biggest ones. We've got some others, and we will break those out into separate little episodes. But what I want to do is thank you for just giving us that overview of what an IT director is all about. It is involved, and hopefully people are, if it goes some way to helping salespeople are selling into this area, understand that to do a better job when they go more senior. That's brilliant. That's why we're doing this. If people are thinking, this is great, Scott's telling me all the stuff I've got to go and tell him, my advice is just wait until you've heard the next session that we're going to do, which is around the frustrations, because you will not be wanting to do those. And also think about the things that he's going to talk about which delight, and I may think, well, can you help add to that list? So that's my advice on how to act as a result of this. Think about your own understanding of what an IT director is doing that Scott's really helped us with, and then start to formulate a plan, but just hang on. But Scott, really appreciate you taking the time.
Hang on for the mistakes, just to make sure you don't make them again.
Let's just wait for that one. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate that.
No problem.